Welcome to the Dave Palma Show, the podcast that revives, restores, and awakens your innermost capabilities.
You have the training and the talent to succeed, but do you have the guts to fail?
I love what I do. When you love what you do, you want to be the best at it.
Today is about the power of you. You will change the world.
Find your path to success through the journey of those who have succeeded. And now, your host, Dave Palma.
Hi, welcome back to the Dave Palma Show. And with me in this episode, I have the founders and hosts of the Fit Mess podcast, Zach Tucker and Jeremy Grater. Welcome to the Dave Palma Show.
Thank you so much. We're so excited to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Absolutely delighted to have you here. And what a great way to start the new year. Getting people, obviously, they look to fitness for the first thing. I'm an ex-track athlete, but obviously when people retire from sports, and I'm an ex-firefighter, you kind of to go down a bit, and we even have our ups and downs during those times. You can certainly have the same, whether you're just a casual, lay person just wants to get fit, or a professional athlete or whatever. You go through the same thing. So let's hear your story. Let's start with you, Zach, because I've seen it on the About Me on the website. So let's hear it word of in person to our audience. What happened to you? What's your story? How did you get involved before we speak to Jeremy about his?
Yeah. Well, it was a dark, cold Tuesday night when I was born. No, I'm just kidding. It actually
was Friday night, actually. For a while, I believe.
Yeah, it does go back that far. First 22 years of my life, there was just a massive amount of trauma and issues, mental health issues that were, both inherited from, the wonderful genes of my parents, and also, just the way I was brought up. By the time I was 22, I was almost 300 pounds. I drank a 2-liter of Mountain Dew every day. I ate at McDonald's twice a day because my friend was a manager and I got free food when I was in college. So that was super helpful.
Okay. Yeah, very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't move at all. I smoked cigarettes, probably 2 packs a day.
Yeah.
Just
smoking definitely don't help.
No, and I at the time I don't think I ever met a drug I didn't like. So it was, very, the complete opposite of today.
Oh, it's something that any of us could have gone through. Even I could have gone through that period. I dabbled a bit in all that, and I still have my little demons every now and then. But we'll go into that later. But anyway,
of course, we all do.
Yeah.
I've told Jeremy this a lot. I am generally impressed with myself that I'm still alive, because I was so depressed. I was so anxious. I had so many mental health issues at the time that it was just, crazy that I'm alive today. But I had a moment where I decided to quit smoking. I quit smoking, and then I decided to run a race, and I ran a race, and then another little change and another little change. And then I started focusing on my mindset when I was, 30, and getting that in order. And, here I am at 43 years old, doing a podcast on health and wellness. And I'm literally the happiest, healthiest I've ever been in my entire life. And, Jeremy and I met, and while we were both kind of going through something similar, and it was so helpful to have another guy that I could talk to in a vulnerable way and talk about the struggles I was having. And turns out he was, doing something similar with his life. So when I told him we should do a podcast, talk about our feelings and get all emotional on a mic, he said, hell no.
Yeah. Well, I think I've seen that the podcast started around 2017. So that conversation happened somewhere just before that, obviously. So what was you doing around the time when you was going through these unhealthy times? Was you just a student only, or, is podcast your full-time job now, or what?
No, it's not. I did things a little bit differently. I actually dropped out of school when I was 15 and got my GED, and then didn't go back to college till I was 22. Did that in 3 years, and then got my first job. And it was actually my first job where I got the kick that I needed. I went in for the interview for my job, and I didn't want to smell like smoke, so I wore a nicotine patch and got the job. And then my very first day at the job, my boss looked at me and said, "Oh, you smoke. I would have never hired you if I'd known you smoke."
Oh, wow.
So I was like, "Oh, my professional career is at risk because of these things. Oh, and I might die someday too. I should probably get rid of these things." So that was like the kick in the pants that I needed. But today, you know, I work in IT and security as my full-time job. And,
Yeah.
you know, Jeremy drags me onto the mic now. I dragged him on the mic to begin with. Now it's always him dragging me.
Okay. I see. Yeah. Well, IT is quite useful anyway with around these sort of things as well, isn't it? Really, because obviously it gets quite techie when you're independent like myself and try and get through these technical fits. But obviously, there's this thing called outsourcing as well. So we won't go into that. That's not what we're here for. But okay, so that's your journey. Really, was really that you got unhealthy. Really, you know, anyone can go down that road, I suppose. You know, if they don't see it coming, you know, you could, because it's around you. You know, you go to parties are around you and stuff like that, and it's so easy at that age to drop out of school because certain things happen. Age 15 is kind of a, you know, the hormones are going and testosterone's increasing and etc. And you know,
you don't make the best decisions when you're 15.
No, you don't. So these things can happen, you know. So, well, let's move on to you, Jeremy. So, obviously, a different background. I think you're from a broadcasting background, but what happened to you? What's your story first?
Well, it's funny. I forgot that Zach also dropped out of high school at 15 years old until he just said that. So it's funny that I did the same thing. So
okay.
Yeah, just one of many poor choices that I made in the first half of my life.
Okay.
But yeah, I was a guy basically in my 30s. I was working in commercial radio and was a new dad. And I had been podcasting for a long time. I was doing a show with my brother and a friend of ours where the main premise was that we would just get really drunk and tell stupid stories from our lives. And while it was fun and hilarious and we laughed a lot, it wasn't the healthiest lifestyle. I was constantly basically putting myself in positions to create stories to tell on this podcast.
Yeah.
So,
but you got downloads, I suppose, isn't it? Really, if you wanted to really.
Well, back then we were kind of the only game in town, so it wasn't too hard to do.
Yeah, it wasn't
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was just sort of this long line of bad choices. And once I became a dad, it wasn't even necessarily that was the motivator, but there was a morning when I heard a knock at the door, and it was basically the early morning grocery delivery. And that knock on the door made the dog start barking. And any parent of a newborn knows that that's going to wake the baby up and that's going to ruin your whole day. So I got out of bed really quickly. And when I stepped, I rolled my knee, literally couldn't get up. Like I did some sort of nerve damage getting out of bed. It was so ridiculous. So, you know, fast forward a bit, I start going to doctors trying to figure out what happened, CT scans, all these different things. And finally a physical therapist, I gave her, you know, sort of my family background and talking about what happened. And she said to me, if you don't get on a bike, you're going to have to replace both of your knees like your family before you has. Right. And I thought, well, that's crazy. I'm not going to get on what am I, 6 years old? I'm not going to start riding a bike around. Like who has time? Yeah. So I did what I always did. I went and complained to my brother about, oh, this crazy doctor thinks I got to ride a bike. And he said, dummy, all you got to do is go buy a bike and start bike commuting. Be the weird guy that rides his bike to work every day. And for whatever reason, the way he said it at that time in that space, I instantly became that guy. Like I was the weird guy for plenty of reasons. Why not be the weird guy for riding his bike? So within a week, I bought a bike, was bike commuting every day. And that's when I discovered really for the first time, like this love I had for just being present, just being so in the moment. Because when you're driving, you know, riding your bike down city streets, if you're not in the moment and paying attention, it's going to end badly. And I just was finding that all of the worries that I had about getting to work would melt away because I was just surviving. All the worries I had about the past, regrets, things like that were just melting away because I was just so present. And that led to finding a therapist who helped teach me about meditation and just, again, deepening my relationship with the present moment. And it was just incredible how many doors that opened because in that presence, I found a lot of answers to questions that I was trying to find elsewhere. And so the more I did that, the more I just found more and more doors that were opened. And one of them was meeting Zach and finding out that he was a few steps ahead of me on this journey to a healthier, happier lifestyle. So we started swapping stories. And that's when he said, you know, guys don't talk like this. Guys don't share our feelings and the struggles. It's all about, you know, the sports ball game and how you doing, bro, and how much you bench and all that. And so that's when he said, yeah, let's do a podcast. And I said, you're crazy. Like, who are we? We're two randos that don't know. We're not experts in this stuff. But then we realized that, like, as much as we were learning from each other, that there were plenty of other guys out there that could benefit from the conversations we were having because we were helping each other. So that was what really solidified it for me. And ever since then, we've just been sharing our struggle and sharing the tips and the things that we find to overcome those obstacles that get thrown in our face every day, because there's certainly no shortage of obstacles.
Yeah.
And so if we can help find a few solutions, then, then it's a win.
Yeah, and what better way to find some, real life guys that, people can relate to, the majority of people, from backgrounds like yours that just wants to listen to stories like that. And obviously, I know your podcast gets a variety of people from, individuals, coaches, and celebrities as well. It's a bit like my podcast as well, but generally it's what everyone can relate to in terms of the stories you've said. And by the way, I almost dropped out of school when I was 15 as well. I
really?
spoke to
Did you really?
But I dropped out for about 2 months, and then they kind of got me back in. And but I was a track star in school, almost on a national level. So I was running already for a track club, and it's like, where's Dave? And I almost turned to things that Zach got involved with, because that's what happens. Obviously, within that 2 months, it turned around. Actually, I joined a boxing club. There's a podcast about 2 years ago I did with a world champion boxer, and how that helps me, because he coaches now and he does things to help turn people's lives around. And he said boxing's a metaphor for life, and I said, yeah, well, that's what I did, but the running and circuit got me back, and then that's how I got to compete on an international level. And obviously I became a firefighter, and it helped, put me on the path that I wanted to go on, so
that's awesome. Yeah,
I didn't drop out at the end.
Yeah, no, nobody knew I was there anyway. So when I stopped going, they just kind of like, oh, how come there's an empty seat in the back of the room?
No. You wasn't part of the woodwork then.
See, that's funny, because when I dropped out, everyone went, yes, he's gone.
Yeah, well, we all have those different takes on it, but yeah, excellent. Well, we're going to now get to the meat of it and find out about your podcast. So we know roughly how it started. So let's find out what happened and how it got to the success it is now, and where you're going to go from there. Really, I guess just keep doing what you're doing, I suppose. But we'll find out first. So you had this idea, you brainstormed. Why don't we do a podcast? So what happened from that conversation onwards?
Well, I guess we really needed a name, and we were going back and forth with what we wanted to call it, because we were two guys struggling to just be human beings, to be dads, to be, kids, to be all the things that you are to all the people. And we really wanted to line it up with just a couple of short words. And offhandedly, my ex-wife walked by us, and I have to give her credit, walked by us and just went, you should just call it The Fit Mess. And those 3 words really just summed up what we were trying to explain. We were trying to say, if your house is an absolute mess, like hoarder style mess, you don't need to clean the whole thing. You just need a path to the bathroom, then a path to the kitchen, then a path to the front door, and then you can clean up the rest of the stuff. And, The Fit Mess, the name actually just rang really true, because you hear all these things online about just do these 10 things and you'll be happy. Do these 5 exercises and you'll have abs. But no one ever talks about how hard it is to do those 10 things or those 5 exercises. There's a huge amount of struggle, pain, suffering, doubt that goes into it. And that's really what we wanted to convey with the show is Jeremy and I are normal people suffering and struggling to get through this. But then we needed somebody to come on the show and actually be the expert, because we're just the normal guys.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of shame attached to it too. How many times do you read the 7 simple tricks to get your life in order? And when you can't do the 7 simple things, then you beat yourself up and, oh, what a loser I am. I guess I'm just destined to forever, not reach my goals or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that really was it. Was we sort of realized, because we'd been doing this work on ourselves at that point for several years, we sort of looked back at where we started and thought, well, what would we tell that version of us? How could we help them find the things that we've found and create a shortcut? And that was ultimately the genesis of it. And we knew that we weren't the experts. And so, like Zach said, that's where we share our experience. We share the things that we've done, the successes we've had, and where we have knowledge gaps. That's when we bring in an expert and say, hey, what does the science say? What does your years of research? What do the degrees on your walls say about what we're talking about here? And then we're just kind of the dummies that help you attach it to your own life and allow yourself to to make mistakes on the way, right? To just take that messy action and become the expert of your own experience, become the expert of that change that you've made. Because without that, it's a very lonely journey, and it's so easy to let yourself off the hook and just give up. So we just try to build that community, and we just try to be a resource for people like us that really didn't know where to turn.
Yeah.
And we just try to offer them a few simple solutions to course correct and start doing things a little better.
Yeah. So this podcast, how did it start? I mean, obviously it's grown to 15,000 downloads, quite a lot of downloads, isn't it? Probably more than that now. Obviously, even with that, there's more people listening. There could be 10 people, 100 people listening in a room to a podcast. You never know how many people's actually listening to a podcast. That's the thing about these things. But in the early days, you started it with these episodes, and now obviously you've had celebrities on there, and people, very, very good experts. How was it when you first started? Was it hard to get going? I mean, I know when I started, I was thinking, how am I going to get these guests on the show? I mean, it was actually quite easy in the end. But the thing about me is that it was me, because it's very easy to do 8 episodes like I did once a month to begin with or whatever, and then think, I can't be bothered. But I actually managed to carry it on. And it was a lockdown. We can talk about that, actually, that period and what was going on then as well. That's quite an interesting period. Yeah. That I suddenly got so many people. And obviously I was doing some coaching, and it was more fitness related, but that went down. I couldn't do it really anything. And online stuff helped, and the podcast is a thing that really exploded for me, and I had to sort of pivot. It was a big word being used, and that's really what the main thing that I was getting known for, really. It was this podcast. So how was it for you? I mean, 2017, so you started a year, I think about a year or two before me. How was it for you when you first started yours, and how did it grow?
We're a bit of a unicorn situation, because I had already been working in media. I'd already been in news radio for almost 20 years at that point.
Yeah, so I mean, that's very useful.
Connections. I had a lot of connections. I sort of knew the people to call, or at least the way to get access to the people that we wanted to get to. Yeah. And so we believed in the concept. So before it even launched, we started reaching out to some of the biggest names that we had absolutely no business booking on our show, but saying, hey, we're launching this thing. We would love you to help, love to have you on and be a part of the launch of this concept, where we are just 2 guys struggling through health and wellness, but we would love to bring in your expertise and share it with our audience. So all of a sudden, we're getting, super trainer Sean T. We're getting the Bulletproof founder, Dave Asprey, Gretchen Rubin,
Dave Asprey,
writer on happiness. I mean, these people, they bought into our concept also. Like, they just thought, sounds cool. So we got lucky because I had connections and knew how to work them. That, for the most part, anyone looking to start a podcast, that's not going to work out very well for you to just, shoot for the moon like that right out of the gate. Yeah. So we were very fortunate that we had that, and that just really helped elevate us in the very beginning. Right. Yeah. Take the next steps from there.
Yeah. No. I mean, obviously 20 years in the broadcasting industry or radio, it's definitely, I mean, you obviously had that anyway, that skill straight away. So, I did bring up the pandemic and the lockdown and everything. So, that's quite an interesting time with the kind of podcast that we do. I mean, I actually have other things in my podcast, not just wellness and fitness, but everything that I've been involved with in my life, So I got involved with some politics, I got involved with all kinds of things, I did movies. So I bring kind of people in different things and have a chat about the ups and downs. So we still talk about the ups and downs and getting over stuff and obstacles, So it's kind of still talking about adversity mainly, and resilience and fitness as well. But as with my podcast, I could imagine that your type of podcast really exploded as well. I'm not, maybe I've gone wrong, but what happened during the lockdown, and what was it like for you during the lockdown?
It was very interesting it was very interesting to be, in that space and in that, doing a podcast like that, because everything that every human being on the planet was suffering through, like the loneliness, the lockdown, the stress, the anxiety, the depression, we were experiencing, and the guests that we had on the show and the things we were talking about, like, directly spoke to those things. And it was, I feel really blessed in that, multiple times a week we were interviewing people who were giving us, the listeners, but Jeremy and I tips on how to manage through this. So, from that side of it, we actually got really lucky in that we got direct access to all these experts who are helping us get through, the lockdown. But then on the flip side of it, I really think that we produced some really quality episodes that helped a lot of other people get through it. And it, really grew from there. People were looking for that content to help them get through the stress and anxiety and depression of lockdown. Cause it was, for as much as I enjoy staying inside and watching TV, it was it was a traumatic couple of years for people. Like you can't lie and say it wasn't a big deal. That is a maybe lowercase t in trauma in some cases, but that was traumatic. Yeah. So I really feel blessed that we were able to continue doing it through the lockdown and provide, all that great content that we really put out there.
I also think personally, the show itself was a bit of a safe place for us in that, because we'd already been doing this over Zoom. Basically, nothing changed for the show. We just kept, so this was sort of the one thing that stayed normal. Yeah. I currently sort of wish we would go back to a lockdown, because I don't like all this going outside stuff, but in all seriousness, I think that was one of the lessons that I don't think I was as aware of in doing the show, is how much that we were really just kind of running our own masterclass to teach ourselves these incredible, just world-class ways to manage all sorts of traumas in all shapes and sizes. And you sort of forget how much you're absorbing. And it just is like, literally you start asking a question about well, I have this problem. How do I deal with this? Knowing that your audience, I mean, I'm in many ways, I'm still talking to myself. So I know that they're going to get as much out of it as I am. And so again, it's all about just building that community, about sharing these resources and ideas about maybe new to you ways to manage all this, manage the stress, manage the anxiety, the mental health, all the stuff, physical health, whatever it is. It's a great privilege and responsibility to make sure that we're doing it right and sharing the right kinds of information with the people that give us their time.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I even on my show, although mental health and managing that kind of thing, personal development and also fitness was two kind of big topics of mine, as well as politics. There's a lot of politics going on, obviously, in your country, as well as Russia now. But there was obviously stuff going all over the world, really. But so that kind of brought people out from the lockdown, if you like, in various different countries. It wasn't just America, actually, but people lost money. Very rich people, businesses collapsed, folded. Obviously, travel industry, hospitality, so there was a finance element as well, So I had get some guests come on talking about that as well, I'm a parent as well, by the way, so parenting's an issue for me now because my daughter's playing up in school. I don't want to go into it too much, but I'm thinking, well, what do I do? And I'm thinking, I think I need to learn a bit more about that. But I also would, to pass it on to other people when I learn skills as well, or experience, because it's all about experience as well, isn't it, really? So
exactly.
So it was an interesting time for my podcast as well to go through that period of a lot of things, really. I'm trying to actually think, because my wife and my daughter, I didn't get it, but they had COVID recently, last week.
Wow.
And it was only a 5-day self-isolation they needed. She only, and my wife only lost 1 day, and my daughter was still on the Christmas holidays from school. She only started last Monday, so that was didn't hold back. It didn't hold back a lot, but obviously, I'm thinking. Well, obviously, there is another variant going around, apparently, but I'm thinking nobody's actually declared the global pandemic COVID yet, have they? I don't think. Is it still a pandemic?
I think they keep flirting with the term of endemic, but
endemic.
I mean, but I think again, I am no expert when it comes to these things, but I just think that this is the kind of thing that, like many other illnesses and diseases that we can catch from each other, this is something we're all, at least in our lifetime, going to have to live with. So I think we are, relatively as close to normal as we may get for a very long time. But yeah, it's certainly been challenging living in these times with that threat.
I think what's superseding it now is that the cost of living, the threat of recession. I think the UK apparently today in the news said that actually they did well. We've had some growth, so recession's on hold. Everybody, wait, hold your fire, but don't count your, don't hold your breath.
At least for the weekend. At
Yeah,
least for the weekend.
You never know with the market, but yeah, so that kind of is the big topic, really, more superseding it, really, the cost of living, and obviously the war in the Ukraine, and a few other things as well, really. So
funny how the headlines went from only that to never hearing about it again.
Yeah, exactly. Something else will come up, I think, in the next few months, I dare say, anyway. So we'll see. But let's now move on to the kind of guests and how your show kind of, like, I know you've said, what it's about and why you do it and what you talk about. So you've had some celebrities on there, and Dave Esbury obviously is a real big podcaster, as well as an expert in the wellness space with the I forgot now, something coffee. I forgot what it was called.
Bulletproof coffee.
Bulletproof coffee. Yeah,
now Danger Coffee is his new one. Yeah,
Danger Coffee.
Yeah, that's his new one.
Oh, right. Okay. I'm going to have to get those guys on my show sometime. But tell us more about some of the guests you've had on and how those have gone.
Oh, man. We've had, we've been very privileged. We've talked with the P90X founder, Tony Horton, like I said, Dave Asprey, Sean T, Gretchen Rubin, Greg Everett. Man, one of the leaders in social emotional learning, Dr. Mark Brackett, was on our show. Just Jesse Graff, the American Ninja Warrior superstar that many people may be aware of.
Ryan Holiday, my absolute favorite author. We talked to Ryan Holiday. Gary John Bishop, who has been massively influential on our work. He's just a hilarious and profound thinker. We've been very fortunate to talk to the kind of people that we've had.
Yeah. And where do you see your podcast going? I mean, if you just want to podcast away and just keep it growing. I mean, I see on your website, it's more the, typical podcasts where you just put merchandise or things that you like, etc., and get people to donate if they can and things like that. Mine's like that as well, but then I throw in some coaching as well and things like that, and some ebooks. No merchandise, I'm afraid. Anyway. So is that how you see yours as well? Just kind of growing it and really putting it out there that you've got a podcast or you do podcast? Because I take it for you, Jeremy, that's your main thing you do, is it? Because you're from that background?
So there's the show, but then I also am a podcast coach. So I teach other people to grow their podcast.
So tell us about that.
I work in podcasting full time.
Yeah. All right. So that is your life.
Yeah. Exactly.
Whereas Zach is in the IT business, and that probably didn't affect you, Zach, did it? Really during the pandemic either? Did it? Probably the IT world. You probably worked remotely with that, did you?
Yeah, just worked remotely. It actually got busier for me.
Exactly. So
the industry that I was in was B2B e-commerce drop shipping. And as we all know, everyone started ordering things online. So business blew up and everything went crazy there.
Yeah. If you was in the e-commerce world and you knew what you could do online and you're an IT guy, then you've got it made, haven't you, really? And probably with the podcast, you two work hand in hand with doing that as well. So
I don't lose any sleep over job security. We'll put it that way.
No, probably for the future as well, with the cost of living and everything, you can get stuff done online. So, but that's fantastic. So, it sounds like that's exactly where you're at with this podcast, is that this podcast will grow and stay as it is while you're doing what you're doing, and especially if you're a podcast coach, Jeremy, as well, and that will be probably always
ideally down the road. Yeah, down the road. I mean, I certainly see an opportunity to offer some coaching and to work with folks one-on-one, maybe some course development. We've been kicking around some book ideas for a while, and it's just a matter of putting pen to paper and making it happen. So I definitely see that stuff on the horizon. But right now, and like for so many of the shows that we've done and the work that we've done, it's just about being a resource for people. We just want to be able to help people that were like us, that needed a big change, didn't know where to start, and wanted some simple ideas, just like not change your life overnight stuff, but just like, drink more water tomorrow, take a walk the next day, turn that into run in a few weeks, turn that into lifting some weights in a few weeks, whatever those building blocks are. We want to just sort of pave the way and help people like us that didn't know where to turn and just be a resource for them.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. Well, anyone listening to this episode today, they're in for a real treat. They've got Zach Tucker, Jeremy Grater, and Dave Palmer giving some tips there. We haven't really been giving any tips. We're just telling our story, really. But yeah, I mean, obviously, I gave a little bit of my story, but no, only the 15-year-old bit. But you know,
Right.
there's plenty of resources, and I do exactly the same thing as you, where I get the experts actually to talk about their side as well. So, I mean, in general, where can people find out more about your podcast? I suppose obviously you do have a website, which obviously people can go to for the podcasts, which is most people should really put the podcasts on their own website, as well as on not just putting the Apple or Spotify link out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and also tell us where people can find out more about your podcast coaching, because I mean, I suppose I try to do it myself, but I did go on one course. It was a little bit expensive, but I just try to get as much as possible to just excel, so
Yep. No, I'm a big advocate for coaching. I see the changes that I make in people's lives every day. I'm working with more coaches. I see the changes it makes in my life, so happy to help. You can learn more about our show at thefitmess.com. Just make sure you spell that with an M and not an N. So fitmess.com.
Yeah.
That'll get you to everything show related, all of our social media handles, the episodes, all the things. And in terms of coaching, I'm a part of the Grow the Show team. Actually, one of my mentors is Kevin Schmidlin. He runs the Grow the Show podcast and the Grow the Show coaching program. I'm a part of that team, and would love to help anybody who's interested in podcasting to help grow their show as well.
All right, great. Well, this is fantastic. Well, Zach or Jeremy, do you have anything that you'd like to say to my audience before we close the show? And obviously,
yeah, I'll just drop one tip, because we just told stories, but the key to all of the things that Jeremy and I talk about, all of the changes that we've made in our entire lives, it all really comes down to your mindset and being open to be wrong and change yourself. Like, just be okay with being wrong and be okay with failure, be okay with trying new things. In any part of your life, you can implement that, and it's uncomfortable, but that's where the real growth is going to happen.
And I'll just pile on to the trying new things part, and the idea that don't try them all at once, because if you take on too many, they will collapse on top of you and you'll give up and feel like a failure and beat yourself up. Pick one, start small, start microscopic. And the smaller that you start and the more that you attach those little habit changes to the things you're already doing every day, the more success you're going to have. Be patient. These things don't happen overnight. It doesn't become a habit overnight. It's tricky stuff. So just take it really small, one step at a time.
Fantastic. Well, some great words of wisdom to round up the show. Zach Tucker and Jeremy Grater, thanks a lot for coming on the Dave Palmer Show.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. This is great.
That's all for this episode. Thanks for listening, and remember, if you want to support what we do, then share, subscribe, and leave a review over on Apple Podcasts, or head over to my website, davepalmer.com, and click on Rate Show. Well, that's all for now, but I'll see you in the next episode of The Dave Palmer Show.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.